So on this video we're going to be fitting some coilovers to my Mark 7 Ford Fiesta ST180. The coilovers that I bought are actually BC Racing coilovers, which we'll have a look at in a second. I kind of went for slightly more expensive coilovers because they've got dampening adjustment on them as well. And although I want the car to sit a different height to what it does now, I'd like the front to be a little bit higher and the back to be a little bit lower. I also want the ride to be a bit more comfortable because currently I've got lowering springs on standard shocks and it bangs a lot, and you know, it's not the most comfortable sort of drive that I could imagine. So we're going to change these up and hopefully this will improve it. So this is our box for our coilovers. These ones here are the rears, which are the ones I'll do these first, just because that's the way the car's facing basically. So this is your dampening adjustment at the top there, hard and soft, and it comes with a new top mount as well, which is good. Right, so these are the model that have camber adjustment, or is it caster adjustment? I think it's just camber adjustment, isn't it? From the top here, so you can actually move the centre of your shock absorber either direction, which is pretty cool. And as you can see there, they've got coilover spring over the shocker, and again that's how you'd adjust your height, is you'd slacken this collar off and turn the bottom of your body up or down depending where you want it, and then lock it back up with this. This is to do with your spring preload, which they will be set already, and they come preset, so we won't be, hopefully we won't ever be changing any of that. And also on the top there, that's your hard and soft, your ride quality adjustment. So before we do anything, we're going to start with the backs obviously, but we're going to make sure everything is tight and everything is nipped up properly, and also we're going to make sure that the settings are the same, so that the hard and soft set at the same point, so that each side responds the same. But yeah, so first thing we have to do is jack the car up and then take the wheels off. So once you've jacked your car up safely, put it on axle stands, you'll notice that your shock absorber, it's basically held in with this one bolt at the bottom there, which is a 15mm on there. You may notice my bolts are brand new. There's a reason behind that, because basically one was stripped, so I had to have it removed and replaced. So those are brand new bolts, so they should come out nice and easy. And then up the top of your shock absorber, underneath that plastic cover, which you can't see right now, there's two Allen key bolts. So there's 3 bolts that hold your rear shock absorber in each side, and then your springs are basically just compressed in between the beam when the shock absorber is attached. So as you remove this here and the beam starts to drop, you can pull your shocker out. And that there's a spring sort of seat that I've replaced for a power, like a polybush one. I replaced that a while ago because they were deteriorated on this car. So that's going to replace, the new coilover is going to replace all this, which comes with some sort of preload spring cups as well. I've also supported the back beam on a jack for now, because as soon as you remove this bolt, the beam will obviously drop because there's nothing holding it in at the back anymore. So we're going to get the gun on those bolts there, and then we will remove the shocker and then remove the springs, and it shouldn't be too hard to replace, hopefully. So this is the first shock absorber removed. It's 2 very small 10mm bolts, that's all that holds it in at the top. Those 2 right there. There is like a plastic arch liner in the wheel arch, which I'll show you now, but you don't actually need to remove it. This plastic arch liner there, you can't actually just see, you can sort of push the arch liner around a bit and move it because it's slightly flexible, so you can actually see these holes that you need to get to. You can see the 2 of them up there. So basically that's one shock out, and we're just going to repeat the process for the other side, and then we will need to lever the beam down slightly to pull these springs out, because although I've still got a bit of tension on the beam because I've got the jack underneath it, but if we drop the jack, maybe just push on the brake on the rear hub, and that should give you enough to sort of pull your rear spring out. And then you'll also need to remove the rear spring seat as well. So you can see when you're actually looking at the springs themselves, they're actually a lot shorter, because they've even got, this is actually the height adjustment cup at the top. It's got a sticker on it handily. So they're actually a lot shorter, even with the spring adjustment cups in them, than the ones that removed. And these were lowering springs apparently. Even the bodies of the shocks, if you look, they're lined up at the top. If you look there at the bottom, they're shorter as well. Cool. So I've checked that these are both on the same amount of clicks. I moved them all the way to soft, and then I moved them back. I can't remember how many clicks it was, but it was even. I think it was 8 clicks. And those springs there are the same height. So these are all good to go back in, and everything's tight. So that's a good sign. So we'll keep these old ones just in case, because you never know. And yeah, so this here is replaced by everything. So none of this goes back in, I don't think, because these seem to have their own little spring platforms on the bottom, and those were the ones there that were hooked into the bottom of those. So they must be removed as well. I'm pretty sure, well, I need to work out which way around they go. Judging by the sticker, you'd imagine that'd be at the bottom end, but and the fact the writing goes that way, but I'll make sure that's correct before I actually fit them. Yes, I do have those the correct way around. Those bits do go to the top. I don't know why the sticker's on upside down. Probably would have been better if they'd put the sticker the right way around, but never mind. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to fit the shock absorbers, well, the top bolts to the shock absorbers first, and then we'll put the springs in, and then we'll jack the beam up and put the bolts in for the bottom. And that's it done. So I'm a bit confused now why this actually has a threaded body on it then, if the ride height is on the spring and not on the shock absorber. I'm guessing actually that's for your preload then, on your shock absorber, I guess. That's just a guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. That's the shock absorber bolted on both sides. Obviously the rear isn't yet. You can actually see how far out that is. So that's going to have to be jacked up quite a way. And this is a lot shorter. So potentially what I'm going to have to do is push those in gently, see how far out they are, and then start jacking the beam up just until it almost holds it, and then put the other side spring in as well, and then jack up until I can get that, there we go, that bit there, the shock absorber, to line up with that, and then just put the back bolts back in, and that is the back end done. Really straightforward, really simple. There you go. Spring and the shock are all in. All looking alright, both sides. I did jack the beam up off the middle, as you can see there. Possibly would have been easier, because the car's on axle stands, if you jack up just the one side sort of underneath there at a time. Sometimes a bit easier to get that bolt lined up, but it wasn't too bad. I just had to go up and down a couple of times on each side till I got it lined up properly. But that there is the back end completed. We are now ready to put the wheels back on and see if the ride height has changed. So visually, even just up in the air, the car's actually sitting, the wheel's actually sitting a lot higher up than it was before, which potentially is a good thing. We'll see when we drop it to the floor, because I think it wasn't much different to that how it sat. It was probably sat about there. So if this can sit the tyre better into the arch, it will look better, and also it means the front end will actually, it'll not be tipped down on the front end as much, which is a bit of a problem this car's had. Potentially since I fitted those, where are they at? Since I fitted these, here we are, these orange spring seats, because they're actually quite thick. I think the original ones are only maybe half as thick as that, so it kind of maybe made it sit about, I don't know, 5-10 mil higher, but still it did sit too high. So they're out, all that's out, all that's out. BC Racings are on. Let's let the car down. So yes, it does sit a fair bit lower than it did before, which is great. It's exactly what I wanted it to do. The left hand side sits a bit higher, but that's just because of the shape of the drive and the angle of the drive, so it always does that. But that sits good. So what we need to do eventually is we need to put this onto flat ground and measure everything and make sure everything is the same, but all the springs and the shocks are the same height, so you'd hope it'd be the same, but sometimes it isn't. But that's the back's done, so now we need to flip the car around and then have a look at how hard the fronts are going to be to do it, if I've got time to do it today. If not, this will be a slight continuity error, and unfortunately it may be a different day because it is running on a bit late. Right, so now onto the front. So you've got the 3 bolts at your top, which are 13 mil, then you've got this, which is like an extra weight, which I'm assuming we're going to put back on. You've got your drop link there, which looks like it's got either an Allen key or a star bit end there, so that might come in handy because I can put the Allen key in there and spin the nut, hopefully. And then you've got a bracket here to remove for your brake pipe, and this here, is that just clipped? Yeah, that's just clipped on, so that's easy enough to remove. And then you've got your 2 main bolts, which are there and there. So kind of WD-40 spray 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and then leave it for a bit, go and drink our coffee, do the same with the other side obviously, and hopefully that may help you, because I'm pretty much the only thing I'm really worried about is getting drop link off, because quite often they fail and you end up having to cut them off and then replace them, and they haven't got drop links. So maybe I should have bought some, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Right, okay, so everything came off okay in the end. The only thing I've got to do is remove these little boxes, which I'm not sure what they're for. I think they're just a weight. I'm not sure what they are. I'll Google that and see if I need them first. If I don't need them, I'll leave them. But I'll probably do, because otherwise they wouldn't be there. Everything else came off okay. All the brackets came off okay. The drop links came off okay. I even managed to get the nut off that was in the top corner, which I'll show you now. So this nut that was in that back corner over there, there was plenty of space for it to come off. You could actually pull it off the threads as well. It came off no problem. There was enough room. I didn't have to remove any of this, so that saved me a job. I was happy with that. One thing I've noticed is though the camber plates on the new coilovers, I think they're going to sort of sit underneath this dome bit, so that's going to be in the way. So I'm not going to be able to adjust them. So that's not very good. But I think it means I'm going to have to trim this or cut this out at some point. I'm not sure I'm going to do that yet. I might have to get someone else to do that for me. I'm not too convinced I want to be cutting when it's quite close to them edges there, so we'll come back to that and we'll decide. I might just need to cut across sideways because it's a slider that way instead of cutting the whole thing out, but we'll see. We'll come back to that. But everything else came off okay. Bracket for the brake pipe came off okay. That was just a clips, that was alright. Drop links as well, got them off, but I needed to clamp even on there with the mole grips, because if you've ever had them spin, when you get to rubber boot part, if you just back end of it, if you get your mole grips on the back end, normally it holds it enough to stop that spinning. They come off dead easy, so that was all good. It did help with the WD-40, I reckon, because I don't know if these shocker bolts had ever been out for a long time since they changed the lowering springs. I don't know, it could have been a very long time, but all that's done now, so it is just a case of trying to see if I need all the tools I've got there, try to see if I need these boxes. If I need that, then I'll take it off and put it on the new ones. If I don't need that, then I'll just ignore it, and then start fitting the new ones. But yeah, as you can see there, as I was saying, the adjustment parts, see, they're there. You're never going to be able to get to that because the hole's about as big as that bit, so they're going to be underneath the strut top, which is a little bit annoying. A little bit annoying. We should be able to get to the adjuster fine, so at least that's one positive. But anyway, right, let's investigate what we're doing with this box first, see what they are and if I need them. Well, not everything has gone as smoothly as I would have liked, so I've come to try and fit the shock absorber in the front driver's side. That bit's okay, and then yeah, the drive shaft's fallen a bit, so that's not so good. So as I move the hub there, try to line it back up, it just pulled the shaft clean out. And if you look on the floor down here, you see all the bits of bearing, so the bearing's actually collapsed as well. Chances are that was actually going anyway, so maybe that's not the worst thing that it's done it here instead of out while driving. So unfortunately, basically I'm going to put this car back together as best as I can, try and slot that back in there, and I need a new drive shaft now. So this video is now terminated, but I will get one side finished, so I'll show you that one finished, and then we'll come back to this and say fix it again another day. Ford, fix or repair daily. Fantastic. But yes, I've bolted the two shock bolts on there. I haven't finished doing it obviously because I need to tighten those two bolts up. Drop links back through, just needs it nut on, and that just slots on. It's got all the brackets for everything, so on that side would have been done dead easy. And I thought, right, I'll tell you what, I've got those bolts in, let's go and put the other one in just so it's ready to go. And disaster. Good times. So unfortunately I'll have to terminate this here, and then we will return with a video on probably swapping a drive shaft. How much fun that's going to be. Oh yeah, but another thing mentioned before I do, these new bolts here, dead easy to get to because they're just those little shallow little nuts there, so you can fit them in dead easy at the back. No need to remove any of this, dead straightforward. Yeah, so all I've got left to do is basically nip up the bolts that I've fitted and then put the car back on the floor, if I can put that shaft together. If I can't put that shaft together, if I can't push that back together, which I did try quickly but not properly, I need to jack the hub up to take the weight off it. If I can get that back together, then I'll be able to put the wheel back on at least, so the car can just sit here for now until I get another drive shaft. Good fun. I'm hoping actually, I'll probably fix this by the time I put this video out because I'm not that good at editing fast, but Hopefully I can just replace this piece here from that CV to that knuckle there. I don't need to take the whole thing out of the box. Hopefully I can just get this bit, shove a new bit in, and jobs are good. And that's hopefully the plan anyway. But yeah, what a nightmare. Bearings everywhere. Bloody Fords.